everyone, and welcome to another week of podcast. Today we got Pacey with us and Rosin.
G'day.
Pacey? Yeah. So
Hello.
we are going to talk about today the new message that was sent out about the resource campaign and
It's like a
also
quest.
or quest. Excuse me. All right. As well as talk about the KOM's Soon City district. So
Yeah, new district also.
Let's start off with the resources. Thank you, Pacey, for that video that you did on reading the message that began.
My pleasure.
You have any thoughts that you'd like to share after after that video you did? Anything that you thought of maybe afterwards? Would you like to share?
Let's have a think. I don't think there's anything that I kind of missed out of it. Just I think the important thing people need to remember is you have to have both the prime dual and the hollow building in place for it to work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. If you want backdated resources, the prime dual for the specific resource on that plot, or not on the plot for the case of those three, and the hollow building.
Okay. Razin, you're more our social media person. I'm sure Pacey is also, but me, I'm kind of all thumbs in that area. So what have you heard on there?
Yeah, look, I think the big question in that update, because it didn't only just talk about the wood, water, and sand backdating, it's also talking about the other resources that we've already had go live as well. So we don't really know what the actual specifics are in regards to dual slotting. Now, if you talk to Aussie One, which we've had on Pacey's channel as well, there is no documentation whatsoever that says that we need to have our duals slotted for the backdated resources for all of the other ones prior to this announcement. So that's the big takeaway for me that a lot of people are wondering about.
Okay.
If we need it for these, I would assume we need it for the others too. It doesn't seem to make sense to do it for some, but not the others, even if there's no documentation there.
But that's the thing, though. It's going to turn into a bit of a spiral similar to the claims process. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be a bit annoyed. I mean, I slotted most of mine already for most of my larger properties, so not an issue for me. But some people are going to say, well, you guys didn't specifically say that we need to slot the correct duals prior to. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the way I understood it, is you didn't necessarily have to slot the jewels to get the resources, but by slotting jewels, you would get more of the resources. Okay, because I mean, you got a percentage on the jewels, the jewel description.
Oh, you maybe got some of them boost. Yeah, I get
right. The boost, and so that was so for me, I looked at it as if you slot that jewel, then you're going to get an additional boost to your resource claim, your resource reduction. So yeah, you're right. It didn't say that you had to have those jewels in there to get the resource, but if you did have it, you would get a little more. So
I could be wrong on this, but I don't think the jewels even had prime wrote on them when they first came out. I'm sure that was something that was added later. Yeah, so I didn't think it were called prime jewels initially.
Yeah, I still think that they don't have that prime on there as well.
I think it is on there somewhere now. Let's see if I quickly get on and have a look. I'm not too sure. I'll check it.
Maybe it was the stage 2 update they made.
Yeah,
I remember
common
someone
prime
saying
black jewel, common prime blue jewel. It definitely is there now.
Okay, sure. So with these the wood, water, sand, so if you've got properties that don't have any detected resources on them, you got the hollows and you've got the jewels slotted for them, you get a 50% bonus as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So another thing that I saw people making some questions about is slotting time and backdating time. somebody mentioned about, they're talking about having the backdate going all the way back to 2021.
Yeah.
But it kind of indicates that the backdating actually goes to when you slotted the jewels. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
But for
I think the 2021 piece was around wood, water, sand. So they would basically give you from when hollow buildings started. I think that's kind of the piece. It's like a reward, because we didn't get those resources. But for the other ones, I don't know.
Okay.
So I would say the same for these three, that it's not quest that they call it, it's a campaign. For the campaign that they've launched, as long as you slot between the dates that they've said, I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, you'll get them backdated all the way to 2021. But I would imagine, unless we get a similar sort of campaign for the other ones, that it would just kind of be the date that we did the hollow build and jewels, because they even mention about the dates on those as well. I think there's been a bit of mix up, well, not mix up, but there's kind of conflicting information there as well. There's some stuff saying that it goes from the date of whichever one was done last, and there's some stuff saying that it was the date of whichever one was done first. So I'm not 100% sure on which it is for those as well.
Okay. Yeah, there's going to need some clarification, I think, because even in the Discord, you had Liz saying one thing, and then this Earth 2 team, whoever that is, mystery person who seems to be a female, and isn't Shane. So, and then Shane said, different things as well. And since he's heading game design, he would be the best person to go to, I think.
Yeah, would imagine so.
So we'll just pester him on Twitter over and over again until he gives us an answer, I suppose.
I'll get an answer to something. Yeah.
So the one thing I do like about this campaign, though, and I kind of wish it would have done it with the others, is they are actually using the V21 platform for generating the resources instead of going with the claims.
It's all going to tie in together, I think. So when they're talking about resources generating in E2V1, obviously we want that because we're going to want to start building buildings, which isn't going to be on the website anyway.
Right. So, let's see. Going on to
they've got a couple of factors to think about with this backdating as well. So the occurrence units will depend on the boost that you have. So if you've got, say, a plot that's just got one resource and it's got a number of slots, you could boost that with those T3s. But it's going to be interesting to see how much of these hollow buildings are going to fill up.
Yeah,
as well.
So are they just going, because the way I'm kind of reading this is the only ones that we're going to actually get anything from right now would be wood, water, and sand. I don't necessarily read the fact that you're going to get the other resources right away as well. Because
I think it's going to be all of them. I think they've just released the wood, water, and sand now because those resources weren't released on the land yet.
Right.
So they've kind of launched them as a backdated thing because we couldn't kind of slot and prepare for them in the past like what we could with the ones that had been launched.
Oh, yeah. Another thought that occurred to me is it's a possible the possibility that because they are using the V21 engine, resource engine, to take and do this. This will be the first time that they've actually used the resource engine in V1 to generate the resources in the platform.
Well, I think it's all going to be done from the same sort of backend. The reference to E2V1 was just saying if you initially get resources in those areas now, like on the web platform, they won't necessarily be there once E2V1 comes out. Like if you slot a wood jewel on a water tile, once E2V1 launches and there's not wood there, that resource will then stop from that tile.
Sure. Right.
So I think that's the difference between E2V1. I'm not sure it's only going to be generated from E2V1. I think it's still going to be kind of the same as all the other ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the back end
Yeah,
on the site connects to
Yeah.
E2V1 in some way, shape. There's a database somewhere. We don't know
right.
how it works, but
Well, we
yeah.
know, all right, we know that the web-based program is different from the cloud-based program. Okay, so E2V1 is the cloud-based program, and it houses most of the data and everything else from, I mean, all the data that's been generated in the web-based program has been migrated into V1, and various things, the side droids and everything else, are already in V1, and so they've been using V1 to take and generate the different things, and so that's why I was saying
Mhm.
they haven't used this resource engine out of V1 yet, and so I think they're basically using this this campaign, this quest, to actually test out the engine.
Mm,
I understand that that they need to be able to test out the various aspects of the EcoSim engine. Okay,
mm,
and they're using the web platform to do so.
mm.
As we've
Yeah, true.
talked about before, they can't.
Mm,
The web platform cannot handle being able to take and do everything that the cloud-based platform will be able to do.
mm.
And that was just a thought that came into my head. You know me; I have random arbitrary thoughts all the time, doesn't?
Yeah, we all do. We all do.
So anything else? Anything else you want to add to on this campaign? Any questions? Anything else?
Yeah, so we
Razzin first,
clarified we clarified with Shane about the different he mentioned different types of water.
right?
So what that looks like, well, we can only speculate that it's going to be fresh water versus salt water.
Okay.
And when we're kind of thinking, well, the raw material for that fresh water, it's going to be fresh water. That's what they've said that it's going to be. So when we're looking at potentially salt water or seawater, whatever you want to call it, there may be some requirement there to have a desalination plan or something,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
Just something to consider there, which is obviously going to take a few more resources, building blocks, and a little bit of a step into the progress. So having that backdated water is going to be a big piece to that, because if you don't own land, or in this case, a base of water that's fresh water, then it might not be so easy to get that if you're generating it from ocean tiles.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. You think you're
There
out in
might
the middle of
even
this? Yeah. Go ahead, Pacey.
there might even be eventually different types of water anyway. We might need a different kind of water for construction as what we will for our kind of crops and food and stuff as well. Because I know we're getting a different kind of sustenance for the civilians. So it could even come into play where there's actually different water types that we're using. So I'm sure I remember reading that there was construction water or building water or something along the lines of that in the draft paper or somewhere.
Oh,
Why
I've never read two different types, but there was one with a specific name. I remember that.
Oh,
yeah,
quite complicated. Well,
Yeah.
maybe like
water is water, seawater is seawater. You know, you have two. One
maybe
you
it's
could,
like distilled or something, distilled water or something. You know how you use that for like
Possibly.
yeah.
laundry or something?
No,
Yeah, I don't know.
I understand. You need
Yeah.
distilled water for making some materials and stuff like that. But
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
I don't think we need to get it. I'm hoping don't need to take and think that they make it so much like Earth One that you have to do that complicated.
To some degree.
Fingers crossed it's just what Resin said and we need to desalinate it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I hear ya.
Yeah. So the other thing, Builder, was we're just talking about what each of us are doing. So for me specifically, I need to start building some more hollow buildings
Right.
in regards to trying to get some more of this backdated. And interestingly enough, we just acquired it was close to about 5,000 tiles tier 1 for the KOM account. And funnily enough, there were no resources on that. So that's going to be a nice big sand farm. So
Good.
slotted the sand jewels on that, hollow buildings on that. So we'll definitely have a lot of sand. So obviously there's a little bit of work to do around getting those jewels slotted correctly if you haven't already.
Right.
And even if it's not wood, water, sand, still a good idea to do it anyway, like a lot of people already have. So I mean, I've set up most of mine already. It's just catching the ones and twos here and there
Sure.
and building more hollow buildings. So what have you started with, Builder? Have you done much work on that
So
yet?
I started as far as jewel slotting goes, I started doing I started slotting T3s in all my tier 1 properties first, starting with the largest number of properties or the largest number of tile properties first, and then working my way down, and then as well as the large tile T2s. And then hollow buildings, well, I hadn't really paid a whole lot of attention to that. So fortunately, you gave me a kind of a cool building that it's going to be popping up all over the world.
Nice.
So yeah. So most of my properties had my large tile properties had hollow buildings on them already. I didn't worry about the T1 or the single tile properties. I have a bunch of those, and I'm thinking about getting rid of them or getting rid of some of them. But
yeah,
that's basically what I'm doing. What's your thought on that?
Before,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
I was going to ask Pacey what his thought was.
yeah, I was going to as well.
Oh, okay.
I've basically just been using the wood, water, and sand jewels as fillers along the way. Like anything that needed an extra jewel or had a resource that didn't have a resource and needed a jewel there just to get it up to 100% detection, I was using those to fill the gap. So with us having so many properties, I think I'll double check all of me kind of ones that are over 100 tiles, but the rest of them, I'm just going to leave them sitting as they are, because I think people with portfolios the size of ours, I think we're going to end up with more than enough of all resources as long as our properties have been slot by default. So I'm not going to be kind of too fussy with it. I'm going to leave the vast majority of them how they are, with us already having those slots. Hollow buildings, I've been kind of doing them along the way anyway. So most of mine that are not tiny have all pretty much got hollow buildings. Some of them are quite small. Some of them are literally a couple of cents. Even my ones that are flexes only have about $1 put on. There wasn't many of them that I went over $1, which is 1,000 meters cubed.
Right. Yeah, I went back and looked at some because I had a lot of little hollow buildings like that yourself and whatnot, and I went back and edited some of them, just made them a little bit bigger so they're over that 1K meter size.
Yeah, so you can get the max supply.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, there was a couple of different questions on the Discord, people asking about, what would be a good size, where they should start. And I mean, my stupid first response was, well, of course, 1,000 cubic meters. Why wouldn't you? And they're like, oh, well, actually, I've got about 4,000 properties. So, and I mean, for me, yeah, so not so easy. So you could, you could go, for your largest properties and then slowly go smaller as you go down. One thing that I've thought about as well is you can have a look on the market and see if there's properties there that have already got hollow buildings on it. You never know. You might pick up something that's fairly cheap and has a massive hollow building. I've picked up ones before that have had like 20,000 cubic meters on them and just gone, oh, yippee, I'll rip that apart and spread that throughout. Another thing to consider as well that someone mentioned was with our 4-tile rating plots, if that's the strategy that some of us are using, if we're going to be able to raid resources from other people, and considering the logistics side of things as well, if you don't want to have to travel your gold from, say Africa to Europe or to Americas or whatever, it's not going to hurt for us to say build some hollow buildings on those rating plots as well. And then if there's development that we can do around there, we can definitely do that. Just a couple of things to consider.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of an issue on the 4-tile properties, though, because 4-tile properties are, you can't get a whole lot on them.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like, say, for example,
you wouldn't be able to fit 1,000 meters cubed on a
Will you?
hotel property. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more the ecosim side of things. What you're going to be able to build, it's very limited. But say, for example, if you've set up a rating plot in any number of cities, I know people have set up in the Eye of
Sahara.
Sahara, yeah.
Sahara.
You know, and if that's a booming area and you don't have any other properties there, then that might be something that you would consider to do
Right.
in all these different mega cities, and even in, you know, foot traffic locations, London or New York. If you want to pay that much for 4 tiles, you know, that might be something you want to build. You just never know.
Right. I hear it.
Yeah. So, funnily, moving on to mega cities.
Yeah.
So
Wait
this is
1 second.
yeah.
You know, something, a thought occurred to me on that question you were talking about on what the minimum size is. According to the quest, it has to be 1,000 meters or bigger. And I don't think
Yeah,
you said.
no, up
1,000 meters
up
cubed
to.
is the maximum. That's the most.
Oh,
that
that's the most.
create.
That's the
Yeah.
most you'll get. But you could.
Yeah.
Okay. I think. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I read something. Never mind.
You can have your
Yeah,
whole system bigger,
get,
but you won't get
yeah.
any more resources backdated than a
Right.
maximum of 1,000 meters cubed.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be that to get the maximum is
Yeah.
what he's saying. Yeah.
Okay.
But even if you have that, you won't necessarily get the maximum. It's going to depend on the frequency of the resource that you've got there. It's going to depend on the size of the property and a whole host of other things. So
Sure.
don't necessarily go out and waste $1 on every property, especially if they're smaller. And I'm not sure how does tier 1 and tier 2 play an impact on how much resources.
I would think it. Yeah, I would think it would. It has in the past, so I would think it would now. As a matter of fact, I believe that when they introduced the tier 2, or when the tier 2s they did say, I have to go back and look, but I think it did say that the resource generation as well as ether generation and everything else on tier 2s was not going to be as great.
Yeah, I think the tier 2 it said regular, and then tier 1 it said boosted with resource production.
Yes, I think that's correct.
Right.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of speculating that the balance is going to be similar to our ether detection. So where you might get, say, 22 ether, well, give or take, on a tier 1 750, which is what I've noticed on some of mine as well, and from rating those properties. Whereas a tier 2 750. Now, Pacey, you and I spoke about this the other day, anywhere from half of an ether to, you know, a couple. So you're kind of looking at that kind of scale in regards to resource production, I'm speculating.
But there was somebody in chat yesterday or the day before said they were getting about 10% ether on T2 to T1, so 10 times on T1 as T2. Whether how accurate that is, I haven't double checked myself, but the numbers would kind of make sense across my portfolio because my T2s are just they do nothing compared to the T1.
So tier 1's going to be a winner, I think, with this backdated resources and just resource generation in general.
Okay. Soon City.
Anyway.
KOM. Soon City. Soon City.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right? I don't have a British or an Australian accent, so am I saying it right?
Shun.
Okay. All right. Russell.
Yeah.
How's the project going?
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of wanted to direct this a little bit around Shun City first and just get, because I mean, we haven't really flipped the script here. Pacey's asked us a lot of questions, but we haven't really asked him a lot of questions back, I think. So treating this kind of like a little bit of a mini interview. So I know you've detailed this before, Pacey, and things change. So let's just talk about Shun City, what it's about, and what are your plans?
But the eventual goal is to kind of turn it into, I don't know if you can see the tagline on that logo behind us, the playground of Earth 2. I'll move out the way.
Yeah, I can see it.
Eventually, I'd like to kind of aim for stuff like mini golf, escape rooms, bars, nightlife, festivals like Schoonfest and stuff like that. But I think that's a kind of long way off. But it is what we're aiming for. But I'm just going to kind of evolve Schoon City with the Earth 2 platform. If we want to start doing resources, I'll start doing resources. If I want to start putting roads in, I'll start putting roads in. Just it'll evolve with that, with the eventual aim to get to that point. But yeah, we're probably at least a couple of years away from that sort of stuff, I would imagine. Well, and create our own kind of content to put inside of E2.
Yeah, well, it's like that initial interpretation of phase 3, right? You know, we're thinking VR, we're thinking AR, we're thinking, you know, endless possibilities. Ready Player One, you know, I'm pretty excited about, you know, the fun things that you're going to have going on there, because that hasn't necessarily been my train of thought with Knights of Malta as well. It's always been, you know, a place of business. Yeah, we can have some entertainment, and even Builder's got some great ideas with, you know, setting up museums that are almost real life replicas of the museums that exist today, and have those, you know, and that in itself is, you know, that's pretty exciting to me, because I don't get to museums. You know, things like, I think he mentioned something about scuba diving. Is that right,
Yep.
Builder?
Yes. So I would like to try and set up a AR VR system, you know, or a scuba diving game or whatever, and tie it with some videos and pictures that the divers actually have taken. And so I had contacted a couple of different dive shops, but I didn't ever hear back from them over there in Malta. But I just thought it'd be kind of cool to set up an underwater city. I know Earth 2 isn't really necessarily set up for underwater right now.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, but it could change. I mean, they could add it in, but it doesn't mean you can't make one that just ties into Earth 2, you know. So
yeah, I like the idea of you know, recreational activities, and I think Schoonfest really was one of those things, because I jumped in on that, and you know, that was fun to partake in, and to really see that come into an AR and VR aspect would be really awesome. So props on that. But where is this sort of come from? Like, have you been to a lot of festivals and you thought, you know what, I could do something like this?
I don't think Schoonfest is kind of like any sort of festival that exists. I mean, I've been to music festivals and stuff, but that's not really what Schoonfest is. It's kind of a celebration of, I guess, the creators and the players within Earth 2, the talents that they've got, the skills that they've got. And right now, it's just a talent show on YouTube. But eventually, I do want to kind of turn it into like a big parade where people can even do like their own floats and show off their own megacities and their own guilds and stuff like that. And just for it to become a huge celebration of the Earth 2 community within Earth 2 itself. And that's kind of what inspired it. There wasn't really much showcase of what people were doing and who people were within the community. So that's what I kind of wanted to show with Schoonfest. Yeah, and we've done two of them now. Yeah.
That is a really good idea. That is a really great idea. You know.
Thank you.
And
I think the Discord had something similar as well. Clax, I think you're familiar with, has done a couple of DJ sets, which I thought was really cool. And they have like I think it might be Decentraland or one of the metaverses, and they've got the avatar set up, and they full like people get in there and get really into it, you know, which is kind of cool.
I saw Mars Bar sharing a few of those. She goes to them, she attends them and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, when I thought of it, I thought I instantly just think of like, you know, a music festival with fest, but I suppose festivities works as well with that one. But I think I've kind of touched base with you on your background a little bit, but tell us about where you've come from when it comes to video games, where you've come from to now, what's happened, and how have you reached this destination?
I've been a gamer my entire life. Like, games were my escape when I was a kid. That's what I used to kind of nerd out on and spend like 1 billion hours doing. I then went on to do a bachelor's degree in video and new media production, which is everything from games, apps, websites, obviously video. Yeah, then I worked in the industry for about 9 years. Started at freeonlinegames.com. Started in distribution, and I worked my way up to being a producer. I started their mobile games department in there as well. Launched that completely by myself and built a team up from it. Launched literally hundreds of games, had millions of downloads, billions of impressions. After working there for a few years, I eventually left, set up my own mobile game studio. Did very well from that. I've had the number one sports title in the US Google Play charts. Millions of downloads on my own games and stuff as well.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm not really used to talking about myself. I don't know what to say about this stuff.
I told you I was going to flip it.
Games and game production have kind of been my entire life. I'm not a programmer myself. I worked my way up to being a producer, and then I took that over and I continued producing by myself as well. I did have to leave that about 6 years ago now. It's quite a lot of dodgy stuff went on. Like I split with my little one's mum, and then around the same time, my mum got terminal cancer as well. My life kind of fell apart, and I just kind of switched to something I do, working a few hours between school runs and stuff. So I didn't just become a weekend dad, and now I have my daughter like half the time, and I sold all the game studio stuff off, sold my games off, left the industry. It was never kind of anything on the size of Earth 2. It was all kind of all small casual games, flash games, mobile games, that sort of stuff. But games have been my passion my entire life. Absolutely love the games industry.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing about Earth 2, and that really hits home to me as well, is that, you know, it's not like, as much as it is quite intense sometimes, and you seem to be glued on your phone or your PC with whatever's going on, but you're still able to be present at home when you're involved in Earth 2. And that's, and you know, when my daughter was born, you know, that's what prompted me to get into investing, because I thought, you know what, like, I've got to do something. I've got to start putting in investment in that's going to become fruitful, you know, a retirement fund or something, or pass something on, a legacy to my kids. And I'm sure you feel the same way as well. You know, I see you play games with your daughter as well, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, she loves Roblox. I think a lot of the stuff that inspires me for the stuff I even want to do in shooting and stuff like that is seeing the sort of stuff that is happening in things like Roblox, which I do go play with my daughter, and seeing the sort of things you could take forward. Because I don't know if any of you guys play Roblox, but 99% of that is player created. It's right. You've got a platform, but then all of the games that you go into play are made by, well, it's not necessarily kind of amateurs. You do have a lot of professional studios build for Roblox and stuff as well, but it is all user generated content, and there's literally thousands of different things that you can go in and play. And I can imagine to kind of not becoming the same as that, but kind of being able to be built by the community in a similar way to that.
I think Earth 2 is actually going to go beyond that. See,
that's Roblox is huge.
You know, well, first of all, it's going to be the largest platform that'll be out there for Web3, period. I mean, as far as I can tell, you know, and maybe you guys see something different, but nobody else is trying to do the scale that Earth 2 is doing. And I like the fact of what you say, Razan, that you're investing, you know, for your the future. What we are doing today with Earth 2 is for our kids, because we're laying the foundations right now that's going to be the basis of the Web3. And you should probably understand that a whole lot more, because you've worked in that, Pacey, and as far as the games go and stuff like that, right? Am I off again or something? No,
you're good.
Oh, okay. It's just like everybody. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Because you know, I mean, we're laying the foundations for what's going to be Earth 2 and Web 3 in the future. and everybody's going to be tied together. You know, it's yeah, you're not going to have the browsers and everything else, and this is what our kids or my grandkids are going to be living in and using in the future.
Yeah, I think we're at the moment we're kind of in a bit of a phase of Earth 2 doesn't want to bring all these new users in yet. So they're
No.
kind of holding back. To me, I feel like they're definitely holding back in the sense that they're doing what they need to get right first. And you can see it, and I've said this before. You know, the side roads, the civilians, the hollow building market is all, these are all just mechanics for things that they can just duplicate and put other features in. So, you know, 3D creations is going to be a big piece of this platform because people are going to want to create things, they're going to want to sell them. Things that they can wear has already been told, everyone says, so that's a big thing. People like owning cool stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So they've already developed all of these, the logistics, and it's all I kind of said it in Gen Chat earlier today, that I feel like, you know, we all started off in Earth 1. People own land, you know, they defended it, they chased people off their land, and then they decided to build things on their land. And that's kind of where we're starting from. And then it slowly develops into a civilization. And a lot of people don't seem to grasp the long term aspect of Earth 2. And they kind of go, oh, side droids and civilians, what is this? It doesn't make sense. Why are they going in this direction? But they don't seem to see that this all ties into the logistics perspective with resources and a total economy that is going to be driven by a brand new player base that we haven't even seen yet.
Yep.
You know,
Yes.
so something to consider. I've just, yeah, it's quite frustrating. And I appreciate most of the community that I work with because we're passionate about it and we get into the nitty gritty and actually read the announcements and actually read it and go, oh, yep, okay, it might take us 3 or 4 times, or we have to wait for Pacey, you know,
You
we
quit talking
have
about
to
me
wait
like
for,
that.
yeah, or we have to wait for Pacey's video, you know, which is fine. I know Nizza loves your voice and that's all good. I had to mention Nizza.
Yeah,
I
you
to
had to
mention him.
tag him, didn't you? You had to tag him.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really appreciate that people take the time to actually learn it and understand it. And then you see these other people and they go, what is this announcement about? What do I have to do? And it's like come on, guys, see the big picture.
Right.
You know? And I think people lose sight of that.
But to be honest, like with the amount of time and commitment that it takes to kind of stay properly informed with Earth 2, like certainly to the degree that we do, I don't think a lot of people do have the time to do it. Like, because it's literally, it's like having another full-time job. I don't know if it is the same for you guys, but to me, I put at least as many hours into keeping up with Earth 2 as what I do meet Earth 1 business, at least that many.
Really?
Well, not necessarily sitting down having dedicated hours to do it, but like between jobs, I'm on my phone catching up with what's gone on, and then I'm producing videos, and then we're doing the game stuff with you guys, and all the hours are adding up every single day, even if it's just talking to people in Gen Chat. It's not just social stuff, it's keeping informed of what's going on the platform. And there's easily 8+ hours a day goes into that for me, I would imagine.
I understand exactly what you're saying. See, that's why Rosin's my social informant for me. He keeps he tracks all the Gen Chats, all the tweets, so I can catch up with that. I'll read the news updates and stuff like this. But you're right, trying to keep up with all the tweets, all the discords, and so on and so forth. Yeah, well, I'm not very good at that.
It's one of those things, yeah. Those announcements, the way they write it, I'll admit, is not great. But when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, of what a user deals with on the front end, it's really not that complicated.
Right.
It's just they're explaining it from a back end perspective, which.
But we're human. We've got to make things complicated.
They have to give all of the details, because if they missed a bit, you would only have the hardcore people complaining that they didn't know how something was working. So it kind of might overcomplicate it for the masses, but they do kind of at the same time they need to include those details for the people who are interested.
And that's why you're here.
Yes.
I'd try to simplify it as much as possible, but I don't know, sometimes it is hard to even kind of condense it. Sometimes there's that much there that it's hard to get down.
Yeah. So on that note, with the community piece as well, so we did set up a district, and it took us ages to do it, because I know it was like back in January or something, because we only started TKO last October when we found out about PvP. And I was like, nope, we need a group of people, because we need people to protect each other and work together, and we were going to make a TKO district in Shun City, just to, support you and what you're doing, because, we've been friends for a little while now. But we decided to go Knights of Malta district. So we did a couple of giveaways. We did some NFT giveaways. Niza set that up beautifully, and we did this little cross, and hopefully ours is better than Dork Slayer. I'm like, yeah.
Was that the intention? You just wanted to beat theirs? Yeah. To be fair, I don't think there's any tile art at all on there, so yours definitely stands out. But yeah, I'm not going to take a favourite out of them, because they're both magnificent Shun City districts, and I appreciate both you guys being there. Really cool.
That's it. So
but if you guys haven't seen it yet, I'm sure Wes will put a picture up of the tile out there, but it's down in the bottom, like pretty much just north. If you go to the Shun City EPL and scroll down, I think you'll eventually get to it. Maybe slightly right.
Yeah, a little bit to the right, mostly center. Have you seen the hollow buildings on it yet?
Well, I've saw the ones that Nizza was posting in Discord. I haven't looked at it the last week or two, but once he posted those in Discord, I then went and had a look. I'm not sure if he's updated anything since the ones he posted on there, but they did look really cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you know the user. I think it's pronounced Flavius.
Yeah, he's a hollow builder.
Yeah. So I got one of his. It was like it looks kind of like a temple, but like a shaman tower in the middle of it. And I put that in there because he had a really good deal on them. So yeah, definitely some really cool stuff that we can get put on properties. But I was very proud of that. To get all the guys together as a community and collaborate, which it's all about, really.
You guys did some job. It's really cool.
Yeah, so hopefully we can keep doing that when it comes to E2V1 as well, and the guys are still engaged and really they're just, when you put a group of people together, sometimes you're just unstoppable. Moving on though, the new Jewel update on stage 2. Have you done a video on that yet, Pacey?
You mean just like the different colors and the slightly different layout and stuff?
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think they look cool. I hope the design is still getting a little bit of work, because I haven't tested it on mobile, but on the desktop site, there's tons of like dead space above where you like slotting and stuff. So I'm not sure if that's still a wet in production, because like the content's really pushed down, so you have to kind of scroll down to get it and stuff. And yeah, hopefully kind of still tinkering with it and stuff. But I really like the way the jewels look. I haven't dabbled too much with it. I did a little bit of crafting, but I haven't spent a lot of hours on it, and I haven't made a video yet. I don't think I will until it probably goes live. Even then,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, unless they change a lot of the functionality, I'm not sure I even will do anything.
Yeah, if they've got something that they're planning to put in that dead space, that might be something worth covering. But I get it. You got to pick and choose.
Yeah.
Have you had a look at it, Builder?
I have not. I didn't. I had some issues with my my stage 2 account, and I don't know why, but the team we could never figure it out, and I just haven't gone back in there.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I used it quite often to test the rating and side roads, and there'll be other features that we'll get to test as well.
Right.
The annoying thing is that you kind of have to have essence balance, and it's basically you have to play it sort of like a normal account anyway. I had Kenobi from Lone Wolves rating me on there because I hadn't logged in ages, and I'm like, dude, serious?
Well,
bugger
I've
off.
got several hundred properties on stage 2. But there were some other issues. So if people are still playing around with stage 2 and whatnot, they've probably been raiding the heck out of them. But anyway,
Possibly.
yeah, I did. There were some issues with the ether, or credits on there, and I don't. They couldn't figure out why it wasn't working and stuff like that, and so I couldn't. I got some side droids, and then everything stopped. I couldn't get any more, and I couldn't. Yeah, so
yeah.
And I worked with the devs and did all the things they said, and tried getting it working, and it wouldn't work. So for some reason, probably just didn't like me.
Yeah. Maybe
Anyway.
you had too much money on there.
No, actually, yeah. Anyway, anything else you want to ask Pacey? Any more questions?
No, I think
How
that's the job of you guys on this one.
Yeah. The only other thing that we need to mention is weekend our KOM games is Get Pacey.
Pacey.
Get Pacey. So that's a special game. We're still going to take and run the regular. I foresee running the regular smash cards, because the Get Pacey ones is at 12 o'clock my time. I think 12 o'clock my time. It's
6 p.m. my time, I think.
Yeah. So.
And then the other one's 2 hours later.
Yeah, the other one's 2 hours later. So, yeah.
Now, if you guys don't know what they're talking about, Resonant Builder run like a Smashcast tournament between the people who own NFTs in our guilds, and we all battle each other and stuff. And I've been absolutely destroying all of them. So they're trying to get a bit of
Put to shame.
What your score right now is? What, at least 2 times the next the next person up?
I don't think it's quite 2 times. I think it's a little bit under, but yeah, I'm almost double the second place person.
Says the guy who's like, oh, I've spent 9 years in game development.
It's about 15.
I've played games. I've played games since I was a little kid. Here I am with my skateboard and my graffiti and whatever.
To be honest, in the gaming world, I'm a very, very average gamer. It's only because I'm playing against a load of non-gamers that I'm like annihilating.
It's like in a group of models, you think you're a 6 when in reality you're actually a 10. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Right. Well, you're definitely better than I am. I always fall off the track.
Practice makes perfect.
You're just there for comedic value, Builder. You'll laugh. That's all we come for.
We missed that last night though. He came on with his mic working.
Yeah, everyone was like, "Where's Builder? We miss him."
I thought he was talking to us all along.
Yeah, I was out chipping up some branches and didn't hear my alarm. Well, didn't have my earbuds so I could hear my alarm. So anyway, well,
yeah. So look, one last thing I think I wanted to cover. There's been a lot of people really arguing about the Essence launch and what should be happening. Obviously, Bitcoin halving event will happen in April next year.
Right.
And we all know what happens when that happens. We end up instigating a bull run because of that, because the supply of Bitcoin halves, right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different school of thoughts on that as far as the crypto bull run. Some theorize it'll happen sooner, some theorize it'll happen at, and some theorize it'll happen after. It's anyone's guess.
Yeah, I wanted to know, Pacey, what do you think needs to happen before we have Essence launch?
I mean, I'm not a crypto guy at all. I'd literally never touched or held any crypto until I joined F2. I would still be here on F2 if there was no intention of launching a crypto. Like, it's kind of cool that I've been collecting it by doing the F2 stuff, but like, it's meh to me. But from my understanding of what I've learned so far is we need utility for it. And if I was in the team and I got to kind of have my way, I don't see the point or need to launch until we've got F2 version 1. Because the stuff we're doing now is for us, the people who want to build communities, the people who want to build games, the people who do see it as a bit of an investment and stuff. But you're not going to get the gamers coming in, which will be the mass adoption, if we get mass adoption, until F2 version 1 comes. So what if you're going to try and launch something that you want to have value and you want lots of people using, why not do it when you're at the stage of being able to advertise to the masses rather than the investors and the creators?
Good point.
I think there might be able to be some sort of window of opportunity there. I mean, personally, I've always said that, you know, you could do it internally traded, because I'd love to just buy out someone's essence and they're just like, you know what, I don't want to wait anymore, I'm out. Yeah, that's fine. I'll buy essence 10 cents each. That's fine.
I had somebody else to do that to me. So I had,
I
won't say who, but there was a player messages and asked us if I wanted to sell a few thousand essence for 10 cents each. I was like, no, thanks. Just going to keep it for build opportunity. And they wanted to do it. So we're buying and selling a plot with side droids on, then they were withdrawing the essence from the side droid.
It's a bit of a lengthy process. I think you'll find it'll probably take you a while.
I'm interested in, though.
No. I know. I almost was able to talk Wraithax into selling it for 10 cents each, and then everyone else started hyping him up, and I was like, "Oh, damn it!"
How much does Wraithax hold?
Probably more than all three of us combined, I imagine.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. There's a couple of players like him that have got quite a lot. But yeah, look, I think my personal opinion is, you know, things like upgrading is a great utility. Being able to give the essence value and then use that to buy land, for example, another utility in itself. And then even just news of E2V1 with actual solid dates that they're going to stick to, with all of the, like, let's just say they have it ready, but they don't launch it and it's been tested, all the rest of it. And then, you know, they go, okay, it's going to launch here. They could launch Essence a couple of months prior before it officially launches and it's ready. So there's no confusion with dates. And then there's just a massive, you know, a lead up to that event of being able to build things, and people are really getting excited and amped up to build in E2V1. I think that would be ideal. I don't think that E2V1 should come before Essence launch. I think it should be timed pretty much bang on, if not with some news like that.
Okay.
I don't know. That's my opinion.
I was more along Pacey's line. I'd like to see V1 launched first.
Yeah.
And then see the essence, because as he was talking about the utilities, because what's going to bring the value to the token itself is going to be the utility. And
I agree.
And if you don't have V1 going, well, then you have nothing that's going to basically highlight the utility of the token.
I guess you can consider. You can consider, though, if you sell Essence, you could spend that money on buying more Earth 2 land as well.
Sure. Well, I understand that, but just want to see how everything's going to work in V1. Really, be honest with you,
I'm interested,
because that, you know, how is Ether a generation going to work? Is it going to continue on? Are we still going to convert into Essence? Because and then is the Essence tokens going to have a limited supply, or is it going to be an unlimited supply? Are you going to continue
as long as it follows the draft paper? It is a set limited supply. That is
right.
deflation.
And so that means at some point in time, Ether is not going to turn into Essence anymore.
But that's I think that's why Ether was introduced, rather than avatars just generating Essence directly, because having Ether, which then has a conversion rate to Essence, you can change the conversion rate depending on what you need it to be. So
Sure.
let's say you've got hours that are coming from what's the conversion rate now?
6.5.
Yeah.
Let's say we're getting 6.5% now. They could
Right.
drop that down to 0.6% if they needed to, and that would stretch like the essence distribution way further, so it would last way longer. So it's kind of a way for them
Okay.
to do that rather than having to just get rid of the generation altogether. As the price increases and as how much they've got left to distribute goes down, they can manipulate the conversion rates to suit.
Yeah, I could see a point. I could see a point where actually once the V1's launched and going, is very active and thriving and everything else, then and the people are actually getting income from other sources, you know, whether advertising or whatever, you know, there's going to be a variety of things that people will be able to do on the property. The generation of ether could very well, just like you say, fade away. You know, I mean, you still got red energy coming out. You still got green energy. And so you got all the game. You got all the in-game stuff that's already there, and so.
Don't forget, ether is how we're going to get the current units as well. The current units of resources are literally inside of the ether that evaporates, and that's how you collect it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the keyword
that's right.
is replicate. Yeah.
Right. You need the ether for doing for all the other stuff, so it won't necessarily go away, but the conversion rate might. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anything else? Final thoughts.
Just while we're on that, that's another thing that I've been thinking of is, you know, when we do start getting the current units and we're getting them with our sidroids and stuff, you'll be getting them at the same time. Well, with the sidroids that we have now, not the new ones that are coming out, because those will just go for current units. But the sidroids that we've got now, which can read ether and the current units, do you reckon we will have to, do you reckon the current units are going to take up separate space to the ether, or do you reckon it'll be kind of attached to the ether so we can still take the same amount of ether that we could previously? Does that question make sense?
Yeah.
Like, see, we can hold 3 ether per sidroid now.
Right.
If once we can start collecting the current units, are we still going to be able to hold 3 ether, or will we be able to hold like half ether and half a current unit? How do you guys think that'll work? Because I don't think there's been any discussion or any official release covering that.
I think, you know, something that thought occurred to me after I rambled on there for a minute went on. Ether necessarily won't go away, or the generation or the usage of ether will go away. But what you said, the conversion rate to essence could change drastically. So ether still, I mean, they've already been, you know, instead of having to use essence to take and get civilians, you had to use ether. So they're already moving away from essence as a generation source or the supply source. And so
that was kind of always the plan. Ether is life, essence is power. So anything that's kind of living organic will always be ether. Anything that's production energy is kind of essence. It's always been ether is life, essence is power. So we'll continue seeing that kind of divide as things progress as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think as far as utility is concerned, I think you might have to pick with that Pacey, either ether or the resource. I think that's kind of from a utility perspective, whether you want to build or whether you want to accumulate your ether or essence as a form of currency. Yeah, I think that's probably the smartest play, as much as it doesn't sound too crash shot. Yeah, to pick between the two. I mean, when they talk about you could raid your own plot with the sidroid and then collect your ether, your sidroid collect the resource, and then your mentor collects the ether. You know, that could be a strategy that you would use. So handy to have sidroids on all your properties, definitely, especially ones with resources. So yeah, the only other thing I think that we can end this on is Nizzo was poking fun at builders' outlook on E2V1 being released in 60 days the last time we did a video. According to Builder, how many more days till E2V1 do you think?
Soon. Soon.
Uh,
Soon.
I love your optimism. It's great.
Actually, I think it'll be. I think it will be released before the end of the year. And
I hope so.
with the
That's
with
half
the
of next year.
well, consider they've been working on V1 and the web base is my opinion the web base was set up so that they could actually test and build the platform, and they have live data to work on to do so, and and I think they're really close right now to doing that, and because they're starting to use more and more the application engines, the ecosystem engines, to take and do generations for the web-based application.
I don't think that's what's happening.
You don't?
think no. I
Okay.
think the only references to E2V1 is that how the resource, well, as I mentioned earlier, just some resources won't be there and will be there once we change to E2V1. I don't think they've got the 3D engine running to give us the data to the web and stuff like that. They might all eventually use the same data that is there,
Right.
because it's all just programming that they might be able to kind of link into it and stuff. But I don't think they've got the 3D engine running, giving us that data there and stuff. I think
Okay.
E2V1 is just going to be, I think the only mention of that was the fact that the resources might not be there when we do switch over to it. I don't think they're using the engine for the web stuff now. And I think the
guess
web
we'll see.
will continue to exist after E2V1 even launches.
Oh, okay. What I'm okay. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. Never mind. We'll
find
Have
out.
I
We'll find
misunderstood
out
you
when it
there,
happens.
Builder? Sorry.
My
We'll find out.
neurons are just doing kind of some weird things.
So I might have misunderstood you there, Builder.
No, that's okay. No, but I think it's probably ready, a lot more ready than we think. And I still think it'll be launched before the end of the year. Maybe not 60 days, but
I think Pacey will be the first one to find out when it's ready, because they're going to see all of the bug reports that he's put in and all the suggestions, and they're going to go, Pacey, you know what? You can be our beta tester.
I wouldn't mind being a tester, but I get no extra communication or insight than anybody else.
Yeah.
Just as much as anybody.
Yeah.
It would be nice
That's
to
it.
think I would. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like a bit of a a bit of a test or a bit of a recruiting round for beta testers secretly, I think. Those
Well, that would make
channels.
sense. Yeah. Anybody who's posted stuff might get a bit of an early entry. That would be cool. Yeah.
I'll do it, but only if they pay me for it.
Would you not just do it for the enjoyment? I love doing stuff like that. So if you
I
could
could
jump
think
into
of something.
E2V1 and play around now, would you not want to?
You get all the
of course.
notoriety of being, hey, I was one of the first people in the beta testing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'd have to sign NDAs, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah.
I would
That
want
wouldn't be
contact
fun.
with it though. I'd be wanting to
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to say. I couldn't keep my mouth shut, to be honest.
If I wanted us to keep quiet and play it, I would. But yeah, let's see. I mean, Liz made a very good point with all that sort of stuff before. Like I offered to kind of get stuff in advance to be able to make videos before the stuff was launched. And Liz made a very good point in Gen Chat, saying anybody who was shown stuff beforehand then kind of has an advantage in Earth 2. So like if you learn about a new feature in Duels or a new feature with like Cyber and stuff like that, you've got an advantage. You could kind of take advantage of that in terms of what you're buying and selling stuff, which might not necessarily be fair to the other players if you can get a financial gain or a benefit in the game from it. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if kind of there's not a lot of people getting information in advance that they're not fine with going public. But
yeah, a lot of the stuff too, is like that, and people that want the information or would get it, they're all players. Like I know Liz owns Tiles, for example. That's kind of a bit of a no-brainer. So, all right. I think that's about all for today. Thanks, Pacey, for coming on, and
Thanks for having
really,
us.
really happy to flip the interview back on you this time. And hopefully everyone enjoys that little one.
I think I prefer it the other way around. I think I prefer being the one asking the questions.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Pacey. You all have
My
a
pleasure.
great day.
Cheers, Bill, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See ya.